Okay, so we're going to cover Superman Savage Dawn. This was one of the last crossovers that was done for Superman at the tail end of the new 52. Now, with that being said, Superman Truth leads into this story arc right here. And remember, in the first story arc, Superman Truth, we saw Superman get depowered. And the reason why? Because of his new ability, better known as the solar flare. See, he was able to release a huge amount of energy. Once he did that, his cells needed to recharge because technically Superman is a solar battery. Now, with that being said, the last time he used a solar flare, well, his cells never did recharge. And so unfortunately, he was mostly depowered. He still had super strength to a certain degree, but that was it. Durability was mostly gone. His speed, gone. Heat vision, I want to say he had that at least, but his speed also gone. And any other power he had, all gone as well. Now, on top of that though, you had Lois Lane tell the entire world that Clark Kent was Superman. And the reason why? Because Clark was being blackmailed by a new bad guy known as Horridor. See, Horridor knew Clark's secret, and he said, listen, if you want me to keep your secret, you're gonna have to work for me by showing me your solar flare. I want to study it. And so unfortunately, Clark did what Horridor asked him to do. Now, Lois Lane realized that he was being blackmailed and felt like she made the right move by telling the entire world that Clark Kent is Superman. Because with that being done, that means Clark can no longer work for Horridor, take him down, and she thought everything would be better for Clark after the world found out that he was Superman. Unfortunately, she was wrong. It made things a whole lot worse for him. Now, that led into some crazy stories and separate Superman titles that all led into this event right here. And so going ahead and getting into our coverage over Savage Dawn, we do pick up on Krypton a long time ago, where we actually pick up with a character known as I'm-El. And of course, I'm-El is the ancestor of Superman. Now the thing is, when it comes to I'm-El, he's right now informing people that the planet is doomed. Now you would think, okay, did Krypton have problems way back then? Yes, but this was a different problem. The thing was, a meteor was about to crash into Krypton. If it did, that would have been the end of Krypton here and there. Except when it came to I'm-El, he was able to build a missile. With that missile, he shot the missile into the sky to technically try to destroy the meteor. Unfortunately, it was not destroyed. It just got sent into a different direction. And that direction was, of course, towards Earth. And so now we're on Earth, but 50,000 years ago. And so this leads into the origin of Vandal Savage, but at the same time kind of giving us new information about the origin of Vandal Savage. And what I mean by that is, we already knew that when it came to Vandal, he gained his immortality from a meteor that crashed on Earth, and that was it. Now, we did have different stories tell us where it came from, but this one here is saying that it was supposed to attack Krypton, but thanks to that missile, it was sent over to Earth. Now, with that being said, when we do see Vandal Savage, it does take place 50,000 years ago, where we see him and his father and some other men of their tribe fighting against another tribe. Now, while you have the two tribes fighting against each other, that is when the meteor crashed on Earth. And you have Vandal and his father go over to see what happened, what just crashed on Earth. Now, here's the thing. Even as a young man, Vandal was trying to get rid of his father. And the reason why? Because his father was the actual leader of that tribe. But Vandal felt like he would be a better leader. And so when that meteor fell on Earth, you had him and his father go look and see. And his dad felt like with him being the leader of their tribe, it should be him to pick up the pieces of this meteorite. Unfortunately, it was Vandal Savage. And just right then and there, he gained his immortality, but he also killed off his father. After doing that, he claimed that he was now the new leader of his tribe. And unfortunately, if any men try to stop him, he would kill them as well. But then we jump over to the present day, and the reason why? Because we get to see Clark still being depowered, but still trying to be Superman. He felt like even though he lost most of his powers, he still has super strength that he can still be Superman. And so he's still trying to protect the people of Metropolis. And we see him currently fighting against a robot that unfortunately he is struggling with. Now, luckily for him, the Flash appears, and the Flash is able to take out the robot for him. But here comes the problem with that. See, when it came to Clark, when he had his super speed, he was able to understand Flash with no problem. The thing is though, because Flash is always going fast, even when he is speaking, Clark Kent can no longer understand what the Flash is saying because he lost his super speed. But on top of that, he feels like he is useless because now other heroes have to step in to actually help him. And when it comes to Clark, he's most time the person that helps other people. He's not used to the idea of having someone else step in to actually help him. Now you have Flash leave, but after Flash leaves, it really hurts Clark's feelings a lot that other heroes have to help him out. We then jump over to John Henry, Lana Lang, and Clark Kent. Now remember, in the new 52, John Henry is Steel, but he's dating Lana Lang. Now with that being said, when it comes to Steel, apparently he has been working on different kinds of ways that could possibly restore Superman powers. The problem is though, apparently almost every single method that he has tried or wants to try, he feels like it's not going to work or it did not work at all. And so this is Clark coming to him and saying, hey, listen, John, we need to find a way to kind of restore my powers. Now, John does have one more way that could possibly restore the powers of Clark Kent. The problem is though, it's very dangerous. It could literally kill off the Man of Steel. And so he says, no, until I know this could work in a way where you don't die, we cannot do this at all. Now, you have Clark say, hey, I just want to go ahead and try it and let's see. But again, it's John saying, until we are able to know it can actually work, you are not going to use this plan at all. Do you understand? And Clark, unfortunately, has to say yes and walk away. But getting back into the origin of Vandal Savage, we do see him in China in the year 121 AD. And the reason why? Because this is a man who is hunger for power. He wants to build a very powerful clan. And so in China, he got word of a powerful clan known as the Han clan. Now his goal is to go to that clan and to learn how they were able to build such a powerful clan. The problem is though, when he does go there and begins the process of trying to learn, at the end, he feels like he learned nothing. He feels disappointed in what he had heard or what he had learned from this clan. Either way though, as he is leaving, he is confronted by another character, and that would be Zhang Hing. Now, when it comes to Zhang, he was part of the clan, but he does tell Vandal Savage that he does know a lot about the source of Vandal's power. And just like that, Vandal is very intrigued to hear more of what Zhang has to say about the source of the power of Vandal Savage. And so you have Zhang tell Vandal Savage that when he found that one meteorite and gained the ability of immortality, that was just one piece of the meteor that was sent from Krypton towards Earth. There are other pieces of that meteor that are on the Earth right now. And the thing is, if Vandal Savage is able to find those other pieces, he will get stronger and stronger. You also have Zhang say, listen, not all pieces of that meteor have crashed on the Earth yet. There are still many pieces in space that is slowly traveling over towards the Earth. But the thing is though, it will take hundreds of years for all these different pieces to be able to crash on Earth. As a matter of fact, while you have the two guys talking to one another, another piece flies right over their heads. And with that piece right there, Vandal Savage feels a tad bit stronger. And so that is when he realized that yes, if he is able to find these other pieces of the meteor, he'll get stronger and stronger. But the problem is though, there are still some pieces out in space. And so he has to wait for them to crash so that he's able to gain more and more power. And so unfortunately, it's the waiting game for Vandal Savage, but also hunting down those different pieces that have already crashed on the Earth. We then pick up with Clark Kent, and you have Clark Kent just walking around Metropolis. And the reason why? Because this man's life is ruined. And what he's telling us right now is that when he was Clark Kent, he was able to keep that life separate from his Superman life. He was able to still have a normal life. Unfortunately, it's now gone thanks to Lois Lane. This man cannot just walk down the street without the idea of being attacked by a super villain. People close to him are now in danger because now they know, oh wait, you're Clark Kent. That means if I attack Lois Lane, you will most definitely come and try to save her. But on top of that, this man cannot just go home and relax anymore. This man is unable to go to a job and try to bond with new people like co-workers. This man no longer has a normal life. And that was his goal when it came to being both Clark Kent and Superman. Now, with that being said, though, he did get a call from the Justice League, Lex Luthor. Yes, see, in the new 52, Lex Luthor was actually part of the Justice League. Either way, you have Lex saying there is trouble and he needs all the big hitters. Unfortunately, Clark is no longer a big hitter, which means that Cyborg, Diana, and Green Lantern, and Flash as well, they get the call. Clark does not. But Clark knows what Lex is trying to do, is trying to slowly remove him from the Justice League. And so you have Clark say, no, I'm going on that mission. And so he does teleport over to the Watchtower. Now, when he does arrive to the Watchtower, you actually have the other members of the League tell him, hey, Clark, you cannot come on this mission at all. Like, you are technically only going to get in the way when it comes to this mission. There is a reason why Lex said, hey, we only need the big hitters. And the reason why, because we can survive the next mission. But you, unfortunately, may not survive the next mission. And so you would only get in our way. Now, when it comes to the other heroes on the League, at least they're telling Clark in a nicer way. When it comes to Lex, it's more of, no, get the heck out of here. You cannot help us. You're basically worthless and useless. Like, get the heck out of here. And for Clark, it's kind of like, dang. He's now being kicked out of a group that he helped start with other heroes like Batman, Green Lantern, Cyborg, and Wonder Woman. But now it seems like he's being kicked out of the group. We then jump back into the origin of Vandal Savage, and when we do, we see him right now in the year 1543 AD, but now he's in Rome. And the reason why? Because he is supposed to meet up with a character known as Nicholas, and I'm going to mispronounce his last name, Copernicus. I really hope I pronounced that last name correctly. Now, when it came to Nicholas, apparently he had told Vandal Savage that he had some kind of project that should amplify the energy of the meteor fragments to kind of help Vandal Savage get stronger and stronger. The problem is, though, Nicholas has not been working on that project at all. Instead, Homeboy has been writing a book, and that ticks off Vandal Savage a lot, to the point where you have Vandal go ahead and kill off the guy, because again, this guy was not doing what Vandal had asked him to do. But getting back over to the present day with Clark, we kind of find out that Clark has been locked out of the entire Justice League system done by Lex Luthor. And again, the reason why, because to him, Clark is useless. Clark is worthless. He can no longer help out the League at all. And so Lex has technically locked out Clark for the time being from the entire system. Now, Clark was able to bypass the entire system. And once he does that, you then have the Watchtower tell him there is trouble back down on Earth. And unfortunately, Clark, you are the only person on the Watchtower right now, which means this mission is only for you. So get down there and accomplish this mission. And so then we jump to the year 1941 AD as a way to continue the origin of Vandal Savage. Except this time we see him in Germany in a rocket with another character alongside with him, and that would be Captain Nazi. Now, when it comes to Captain Nazi, his goal was to help Vandal Savage intercept another meteorite that is falling onto the Earth. The thing is, Captain Nazi also wants to gain immortality like Vandal Savage. The thing is, when it comes to Vandal Savage, his wants are more important than your wants. And so he does tell Captain Nazi, no, this meteorite belongs to him. Maybe the next one or a few later on down the road. But for right now, this one right here is for himself. And so he does tell Captain Nazi to just follow his plan. But unfortunately, when it comes to Captain Nazi, he's all like, wait, if I don't get the chance to gain immortality, then why should I help you? And so he begins the process of turning the rocket back around. And that takes off Vandal Savage a lot, to the point where he makes the captain crash the rocket and then beat the captain to death. Once again, for betrayal. But getting back into the present day, we do see Clark Kent go back down to Earth to kind of figure out what kind of big problem is happening on Earth. And honestly, when it comes to the major problem the Watchtower warned Clark about, it's not really that big for the entire storyline. It still shows Clark being able to be a hero on Earth, even though he does not have all the powers he used to have. Either way, once he's able to handle that situation right there, well then something else begins to happen. That is the moment where you have the Watchtower begin to fall down into the Earth. Now here's the thing, because usually when it comes to the Watchtower, it doesn't really fall down into the Earth, hardly ever. If it does, it never gets this close to the surface, but it does. And it falls right on top of Clark and a bunch of innocent people. Now, it's not crashing into the surface, but it does get close enough to the surface where you actually have Clark wondering what in the world is going on. Then out of nowhere, the Watchtower does release a huge amount of energy, killing off a bunch of innocent people around Clark. Clark is the only survivor in that area. But then on top of that, you then have the Watchtower get absorbed into another spaceship, the Stormwatch carrier, that is currently being controlled by Vandal Savage. This is him beginning his Savage Dawn event. Now, on top of that, he's alongside with other characters we have seen in earlier story arcs that we knew he was basically controlling them, like Wraith, or Horridor, or Frankenstein. Now, these are the children of Vandal Savage, and they're all here together to begin Savage Dawn. Here comes the next problem though, because the League is still out in space right now with Lex Luthor, and so unfortunately it's up to Clark to be able to actually handle this problem by himself. It's up to him to save the entire world. So when we jump into the second chapter, we pick up with Clark Kent just trying to save all the innocent lives of people who were badly injured when it came to that blast that was released by the Watchtower. Now again, there were innocent people who had died, but there were some who had apparently survived. Either way though, you have Clark right now trying to save their lives. We also kind of find out the League was actually inside the Watchtower, or they just came back, but when they did come back, they were taken out by Vandal Savage and his forces. And so yes, right now, it's up to Clark Kent to technically be the only hero to save the world. But the thing is, you have Clark wondering, what is Vandal Savage's plan here? What is he trying to do? And this kind of leads into Vandal Savage explaining why he is doing all of this for. So you have Vandal Savage tell Clark Kent that when it comes to the superheroes, they're always there trying to save the world. And yes, they do save the world. But the problem is though, the world's getting saved, but the world is not getting better. The world is not changing for the better. And so it's Vandal Savage saying, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to make the world better. And watch me do it my way. And so then you have Vandal Savage begin the process of just blasting different areas of the earth with this ship that he is currently controlling. Different people, different towns are being hit left and right. And Clark has no choice but to try to step in and try to help the people that he can. But unfortunately, this is a depowered Superman dealing with a huge threat, and him wishing that he had all his powers to kind of be able to handle a threat like this. But unfortunately, he's on his own. Now, while you have Vandal Savage doing all of this across the world, Wraith feels very upset about the idea of what her father is doing. That her father is just going around killing off innocent people left and right. She is not down with that at all. And really, that right there is going to be somewhat important for this entire story arc. Now, luckily for Clark, he is confronted by the Justice League United. It's one of those spin-off teams that DC gave us, but luckily for Clark, he's not alone. At least he has some heroes out there that are able to help him kind of deal with this situation. Now, on his team, you also have John Henry Steel, and is still wondering what can him and Clark do next. Now, with that being said, we have to jump over to the sky. And the reason why? Because on a plane right now, you do have a young boy trying to see what's happening right now on the ground when it comes to the Earth being attacked by Vandal Savage. Unfortunately, he has to climb over another passenger to look out the window. The other passenger gets very angry with the idea the kid is climbing over him. And so while he tells the kid off, the plane begins to go down because it was hit by an attack by Vandal Savage. Now, this plane is not saved at all by any of the heroes. It does crash and it does hit a bridge, and I want to say San Francisco. Either way though, when it does crash, there's only one survivor. And that one survivor is the passenger who was very upset with the child climbing over him. But he walks out unharmed and looks angry like no other. We then jump over to John Henry and also Superman meeting up with Ray Palmer. And the reason why? Because Ray Palmer and John Henry have been currently working on a new project where they have made a new kind of power suit. With this new power suit, it will give Superman extra strength and extra abilities to be able to hopefully sneak onto the Watchtower to free the other members of the League, but to hopefully take down the Justice League. Now, Clark will not be alone. Matter of fact, the entire Justice League United will be with him as they try to get onto the Watchtower to free the other heroes, but to hopefully stop Vandal Savage. Now, let's jump back over to that plane crash where you had a guy walk out unharmed. Well, we kind of find out that guy is a child of Vandal Savage. Part of his plan is to basically find all of his children across the world. Now, for Wraith, that is a problem. And what I mean by that is hundreds of innocent people were just killed off so that Vandal Savage was able to find one of his children. Literally, that's a problem. Now, for Vandal, he's all like, shut up, Wraith. Listen here, you're my daughter, you're my child, and I am going to control you. Which means that you are going to fall in line with the rest of your siblings for my master plan. Now, that is the moment you have the actual base of Vandal Savage tell him, hey boss, we got a problem. Your base is being attacked by Clark Kent and the Justice League of United. Now, a lot of different things do happen when it comes to the second chapter of this book. And what I mean by that is, while you have Superman and the other heroes being able to fight their way onto the ship that belongs to Vandal Savage, they then have to fight against the other characters that are working for him. Now, Clark Kent leaves the rest of the heroes behind to deal with the bad guys so that he is able to save the League. Now, the first person that he is able to save is Wonder Woman. Now, this makes sense. And the reason why, because remember guys, in the New 52, these two characters were dating. Now, by this point, they broke up because Clark Kent hated the idea that the woman he loves lied to him. And so because of that, they're no longer together. But for the sake of the story, she would be the first person he finds and be able to free. Now, she does tell Clark Kent that when it came to Vandal Savage, he was able to absorb all the energy from the other heroes for unknown reasons. As a matter of fact, Homeboy does appear and say, yeah, I've been doing that. I've been trying to absorb the energy of these heroes and trying to use that energy for a better purpose. Unlike you guys, you are basically using your energy for nothing, technically being pointless. And so you have Vandal Savage tell both Superman and Wonder Woman that he does plan on using the energy that he was able to grab from the other heroes as a way to kill them off. Now, right when he's about to do it, you have Wraith step in and try to stop her father. And the reason why? Because what he has done to innocent people across the world. She was down with the idea of helping her father out until he began the process of trying to kill off innocent people across the world. And so she tries to fight against her father. The problem is though, when it comes to the battle between Vandal Savage and his daughter Wraith, it does cause a small explosion. And the reason why, because that energy that he was planning on using on Superman and Wonder Woman did not get used. As a matter of fact, it went crazy and began the process of just going everywhere, causing that small explosion that then sends Superman and Wonder Woman out in space. Now, when it comes to the other heroes that came along with Superman, they were technically knocked out by that energy and then taken hostage. And so now Vandal Savage has two different Justice League teams for his own personal use to basically drain energy from them. And when it comes to Wraith, she's not dead. It's just that she got taken out by her father. Now, he's very upset with her, but he's all like, listen, I gotta move on. But when it comes to Clark and Diana, they crash onto the Earth, and we're left to wonder if they are okay. And the reason why? Because Clark is still a depowered character right now. He lost his durability. Even though he's in that power suit, it's still a hard crash to come from space and crash onto the Earth. Now, when it comes to Diana, we also have to be worried because again, Vandal Savage did drain her energy as well, along with the other members of the League. And so we're left to wonder at the end of the second chapter, are they okay? Now, as we dive into the third chapter of this book, we actually do pick up with Diana carrying the body of Superman over to five gods. Five gods who have the ability to actually heal up Superman. And when she asks for their help, they tell her, no, we are not going to heal your boyfriend up. Now again, by this point, they have broken up. But it's her saying, this man is worthy of your gift, the ability to actually heal. He is dying and the world needs his help. And so you have the gods say, fine, we will heal him, but he has to go through a series of tests. Now, these tests is not to prove that he is worthy for your love, but he is worthy for the gift of healing. And so this begins his series of tests he has to take as a way to prove that he is worthy to be healed. Now, when it comes to the first test for Clark Kent, it's him currently hunting down something. He's not told what at first, but he proves that he is a great hunter, that whatever is trying to get away from him, he's able to basically find that person and take them down. And we come to find out that he hunted himself because currently he is Superman. He was hunting down Clark Kent, his alter ego. And so with that being said, once he finds it, the test was for him to be able to find himself, but to see if he would kill his other half. And he doesn't. Now, once he's able to find himself, him and his other self are pushed into the river and they are combined into a weird half Superman, half Clark Kent being. But this begins his second test. Now, the next test is really more of Clark Kent dealing with the idea that he's no longer able to live two separate lives, because for many years he was able to live the life of Superman over there, but Clark Kent over here, being able to keep both those lives separate from one another. But unfortunately, he's no longer able to do that. He now has to be both Superman and Clark Kent. Now, here's the thing though, because while trying to be both of these characters, well, he is confronted by a crowd of people from Metropolis, but also Smallville as well. And it showed that, can he handle the idea of being both Clark Kent and Superman at the same time? Can he deal with the world of people who may hate him for what he is, an alien that came to Earth and lied about his whole idea or what his whole origin was? Can he handle the idea of having words and things thrown at him? And unfortunately, he has to. And the reason why? Because he wants to be the hero of the world. Now, this actually leads into the next test. And that test would be, will Clark Kent give up? And what I mean by that is because now both of his lives, Superman and Clark Kent, are no longer separate. And now you have a group of people out there who hates his guts. He's kind of like, okay, I now have the option in this next test to go ahead and give up. If I am able to give up, there's a rocket for me that is made to send me far away to another planet where I will actually be appreciated. But the thing is, Clark Kent does not want to leave, even though the world knows that 1, he is Clark Kent and Superman, and 2, that he is an alien. This is still his home. This world, he wants to protect this world. He loves this world. And so even though in the third test, he was given the option to leave Earth, he says no. And he decides to stay. Now, the final test is really more of Superman dealing with the idea if he still loves Wonder Woman. And what I mean by that is, there was an earlier story arc that we covered when it came to Superman expressing that he no longer loved Diana. And the reason why? Because she lied to him. She knew what happened to his loved ones, but of course, she did not tell him. And so because of that, he felt like he could no longer trust her and no longer be with her. And so when it comes to this next test, it's really more the idea like, hey, listen, you still love her. I know you love her. We all know you still love her. You're trying to hide that love for a dumb reason. Yes, she lied to you, but guess what? You move on. You try to fix things. And the thing is, in this test, we kind of find out that Clark Kent was going to ask her to marry him. He was going to propose to her. But unfortunately, because she lied, he felt like she was no longer worthy of that ring. And so when it comes to this test, it's really saying more of, stop that. Go ahead and be with the woman that you love. Be with her, love her, and cherish her. And after that, he finished that test as well. So at the end of the third chapter, we are able to say that Clark Kent is truly healed, because that is the moment you have these other beings, these other gods tell Diana, your boyfriend is healed up. He is no longer dying. We decided that he was worthy of our gift. Bam. There you go. There's your man back. Now get the heck out of here. Now, as we dive into the fourth chapter of this book, we actually do pick up with a character known as Kingslayer. Now, Kingslayer is just right now at some kind of campaign meeting where you have different people running for a certain kind of office in the government. Either way, though, he does plan on trying to kill off one of the different people who is currently running for this particular office. Now, he is stopped by Steve Trevor. Now, when it comes to Steve Trevor, in the New 52, he worked for Argus, one of the many different government organizations out there in DC Comics. Now, while you have Steve Trevor trying to take down Kingslayer, he's also helped out by Superman. And so you have Clark being able to work with Steve to take down Kingslayer. Now, once our two heroes are done, this is Clark coming to Steve for help. apparently Clark has an idea that could restore his powers, and apparently only Argus has the ability to help Clark achieve this particular goal. And this is pretty crazy, and the reason why, because right after you have Superman and Steve Trevor being able to take down Kingslayer, and matter of fact, defuse the bombs that were going to blow this particular area up, it's Clark asking Steve Trevor for help. And the reason why it's so big, because Steve Trevor is also an ex-boyfriend of Diana. As a matter of fact, Steve hated Clark for a very long time because Diana dumped Steve to go get with Superman. And so for Steve, it's kind of like, this is weird. You're going to ask me for help after you stole the woman I love? I mean, I guess I owe you one because you did help out with Kingslayer, so fine. I guess I will help restore your powers. We then jump over to Horridor Root, one of the many children of Vandal Savage, and we currently see him doing a procedure on a random agent known as Agent Evans, who used to work for Argus. Now, here's the thing. Agent Evans wants to move his mind over to the body of a robot so that he is able to become some kind of super villain. Now, they technically do that, but not all the way. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to Horridor Root, what he does, he copies the mind of Evans and put that copy into the body of the robot. And when Evans realized that technically he's not in the body of the robot, you have Horridor Root kill him off. And the reason why, because his now robot version of Agent Evans is going by a new super villain name known as the Puzzler. Yeah, that's his name. But apparently Vandal Savage wants to use the Puzzler as a way to go ahead and take down Superman. And so then we jump over to Superman and Steve Trevor. Now, when we do, this is Clark telling us, but also Steve, why he wasn't able to recharge this entire time. And what he says is that there are cells in his body that have mutated. And with those cells mutated, they're blocking other cells that will give him the ability to absorb solar energy. And so until he is able to deal with the cells that have mutated, he cannot recharge and be like his old self. And so his game plan is to use kryptonite as a way to kill off the cells that had technically mutated. Now, when they do arrive at one of the many bases of Argus, we kind of find out that this base was actually created by Agent Evans, the guy we just saw a moment ago technically get his mind copy and put that copy inside the body of a robot. And so once you have Clark and Steve being able to walk into the base of Argus, that is when you have Argus bring out this cell. And when it comes to this cell, it is filled with kryptonite. And so their goal is to leave Clark near this cell long enough in hoping that all this kryptonite will just kill all the cells that had mutated or possibly heal those cells and return them back to normal. The problem is though, while you have Clark just trying his best to stay near that cell, that is when the base is being under attack. And of course, it's being under attack by the Puzzler, our new evil bad guy that was created in this chapter right here. And apparently, Vandal Savage knew what Clark would be up to. And so that is why he sent the Puzzler here. Now, on top of that, we have to remember the Puzzler does have the mind of Agent Evans. And Agent Evans was the one who had created this entire base for Argus. And so, yeah, the Puzzler is the greatest person to use for this one particular mission. And so you have Steve and Argus trying to hold him off long enough so that Clark could possibly heal up. And the battle, it does get very intense. You have Argus just trying their best to hold off the Puzzler, but unfortunately, this dude is just too crazy powerful for Argus to stop. And so when it comes to Clark, he's just laying there next to the cage, hoping the cage will actually do its job. The thing is, you have Steve say, if you believe that this plan is going to work out, then you know what? Let me go ahead and throw you into the cage. get you even closer to the actual kryptonite. And then maybe you will actually recover and then save our butt against this guy right here. And so Clark is now laying right in the cage that is full of kryptonite. And now, really, this should kill him off. And matter of fact, it seems like it is. But at the same time, this is Clark hoping that maybe he'll be able to recharge and be the man he used to be, Superman. Now, as we dive into the fifth and final chapter for today's video, we actually do pick up with a young boy. Now, this young boy is just minding his business, except that is the moment out of nowhere, he is literally bullied by some other kids. Now, while being bullied by these kids, well, that is when a black mist appears. And with this black mist, well, he begins to change into something different. His body begins to grow. And then out of nowhere, he is confronted by Vandal Savage, where we kind of find out this boy is another child of Vandal Savage. Remember, Vandal said he is going around trying to find his children across the world, and he found another one. And this one is going to be important for this particular chapter. And so then we jump back over to Clark Kent. Now, when we do, we kind of find out the kryptonite did help out Clark, except in a different kind of way. And what I mean by that is, thanks to the kryptonite in that cell, it did charge up the cells that were mutated. Now they're just filled with kryptonite. And so he's back to being a Superman, but not the way we used to have him as before the whole Superman Truth story arc. Now, with that being said, though, you also have Steve tell Clark, listen, even though you have powers again, you need to figure out a way to get rid of those cells that have mutated. And the reason why, because now they're filled with kryptonite, and now they're killing off your healthy cells. And so sooner or later, those cells that are healthy are going to die. And when they do die, you will no longer be able to be the man you used to be as Superman. And so if you're trying to take down Vandal Savage, you better be quick and then try to figure out how to deal with this problem right here. Now, that is the moment you have Clark find Diana. Now, Diana is very happy for Clark because in her eyes, it seems like he's back to his old ways, being the man of steel he used to be before the whole Superman Truth arc. Except he then tells her, well, yeah, I'm back, but like technically not. The thing is, the kryptonite is charging me up, but at the same time is hurting the cells that make me Superman. And so sooner or later, I'm going to lose what seems to be both of the power sets. His original power set, but also now his kryptonite power set as well. Either way, she is happy to see Clark being somewhat like the man he used to be, the man she used to fall in love with at the very beginning of them being together. Either way, you have Clark say, you know what, it's time for us to find Vandal Savage and to hopefully defeat him once and for all. Now, the rest of the final chapter of this book is really more of Superman and Diana trying to fight against Vandal Savage and hopefully stop him. Now, what you have Savage do next, he sends out his latest son that he found to fight against Superman. Now, of course, Superman's not back to his usual strength or to his usual power level, but he's still able to go toe-to-toe with this new son that Vandal Savage had found. Now, with that being said, while you have the two characters fighting against each other, you have Diana trying to stop Vandal Savage on her own, trying to get rid of his spaceship. Now, you have both our heroes trying to handle both of their situations at the same time, but you have Diana actually called up Superman, and she says, hey, we got a problem. And that problem is Superman gets informed that Vandal Savage had teleported his spaceship somewhere else in the galaxy, and we kind of find out near Jupiter. We also kind of find out he shot into Jupiter's core, and right now Jupiter is growing in size to the point where it begins the process of sucking in the moons around Jupiter. This is a huge problem, but this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe But guys, see y'all next time. Later.